If you're new here, subscribe. Wait, come back. Hey kid readers, it's Ange here, and today we have another read aloud, and it is called Hello Neighbor, the kind and caring world of Mr. Rogers by Caldecott medalist Matthew Cordell. Let's get reading this book. Hello Neighbor, the kind and caring world of Mr. Rogers by Caldecott medalist Matthew Cordell. In our insides that makes us who we are, that allow us to dream and wonder and feel for others. That's what's essential. That's what will always make the biggest difference in our world. Fred Rogers. Hello Neighbor, the kind and caring world of Mr. Rogers. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. As you can see, this is no ordinary neighborhood. It's the set for a television program, a children's television program that's connected with countless families since it was first broadcasted nationally in 1968. There were many things that made it different from your neighbor. That there were actors, camera operators, musicians, stage sets, and puppets. It took a great deal of work and love to bring the neighborhood to life each day. It was all started by a man named Fred McFeely Rogers. Growing up near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Fred had many interests. He especially loved playing with puppets and music. He's known to play the piano at age 5. Fred's family was proud of his talent and encouraged him to study music and composition as he got older. Fred was shy and often lonely. He was sometimes bullied, but whimsy and imagination were helpful to him, and so was his faith. After college, he planned to become a minister, and years later, he did become a special kind of minister. But at the moment in his life, something unexpected happened. In those days, television was new, just beginning to become popular, and Fred didn't like what he saw. I saw people throwing pies in each other's faces and all kinds of demeaning behavior, and I thought, why is it being used in this way? This could be a wonderful tool for education. And so I said to my parents, I think maybe I'll go into television. So I went to work for the National Broadcasting Company, NBC, in New York City to learn how television programs are made. At first, Fred simply ran errands and fetched things that were needed around the studio. And he learned a great deal. Best of all, he learned that connecting with younger viewers through children's television was what he loved most. Fred moved back to Pittsburgh and began working on a television program for children. He continued to stay behind the scenes, but he took a more creative role. Drawing on his background in music, he wrote songs and created characters, returning to his childhood love of puppetry. As an adult, Fred remembered the wonder of childhood as well as the fears. He spent a lot of time studying and learning about children and their needs and feelings. And in time, it became obvious to him that too much of children's television was no more than silly and flashy entertainment. Fred had a new mission, to create a very different kind of children's television program that spoke to its audience with respect and understanding. A program where Fred would perform as never before in front of the camera and speak directly to his audience, and he would simply be his honest self, curious and playful, attentive and compassionate. The greatest gift you can give is your honest self. On February 19th, 1968, Fred became a permanent resident of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood when it premiered nationally on public television. And now, welcome back to the neighborhood. Fred began every episode by singing his welcoming song and changing into his comfortable cardigan, sweater, and sneakers. Then a new idea, person, or place would be introduced. Just like in life, there were good times in the neighborhood, like visiting the circus or a neighborhood school. But there were difficult times too, like saying goodbye to a beloved pet. Fred understood that children had many feelings and interests, and all of them are worth mentioning and exploring. Mr. Rogers had many regular visitors, like Mr. McFeely, a friend who brought deliveries and discoveries, and Joe Negri, who owned a nearby music store. Welcoming and accepting others and their differences was great importance in the neighborhood. Fred made sure to include a diverse range of actors performing important roles. Police Officer Clemens was the first African-American character to appear in a recurring role on a children's television series. Fred realized that children were naturally curious about the world around them. So, as Mr. Rogers, he often took us out of his home, meet new people, and discover new places. We found out how people make things, how workers do their jobs. We even met world-famous artists in the neighborhood, like Eric Carle, Yo-Yo Ma, and Margaret Hamilton. Each day in the neighborhood, we spent time pretending when Trolley took us from Fred's television house to the neighborhood of make-believe. In the neighborhood of make-believe, in an assembled cast of puppets and people acted out a story about the subject introduced in the beginning of each episode. When Mr. Rogers visited a school, the neighborhood of make-believe built a school. When he saw how people made crayons in his real neighborhood, the neighborhood of make-believe held a coloring contest. Fred loved this expressive and connective nature of playing and listening to music. So a lot of music was played throughout the neighborhood. A jazz trio played the background music throughout the program. And of course, each day in the neighborhood, Fred sang songs he had composed. Throughout his career, Fred wrote hundreds of songs about the important things children feel and learn as they grow, like Many Ways to Say I Love You, What Do You Do with the Mad That You Feel, and It's You I Like. Every visit to the neighborhood would end as it began. Mr. Rogers changed back into his jacket and dress shoes while singing his song of love and reassurance to let us know that he would be back next time. Fred played many roles in the making, more than 900 episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He wrote the scripts. He was songwriter and singer, performer and puppeteer. He oversaw and approved what went on in every episode. Beyond his own contributions, he truly loved working with others. He respected and appreciated the talents and artistry of all who were involved in the creation of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And because of this, everyone felt connected in a very sincere and personal way. Just like a real neighborhood. And just like yours. The end. Have you seen an episode? I haven't. Well, after this, I'm going to go watch an episode. Before you watch an episode, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, and like.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor?
Bye, kid readers!